So, for an opinion piece, and recognising that I'm going to try and be bipartisan when I approach this, we've had an election result, one that surprised a lot of people in some states, in some parts of the electorate, but didn't surprise some or others overall. What I thought I'd take the opportunity to try and explain is in a sort of simple way of where the approach to economic growth can come from. The issue that's been identified is we're coming out of a post-COVID world. We're uncertain of how that looks. The government, or likely government, has proven through history that they've supported the economy through borrowing to be able to get us through this process. The question is that how sustainable is that? And in part, I thought of reflecting on the election as you would with any other business. You're looking at running deficits, your business has some issues against it from a strategic planning perspective. How can the business of running a business and the business of running government be very similar? So I thought I would reflect on it by taking a pie. If you look at my shape, you'll understand why. If we take the pie, the process of saying, if we want to look at sort of covering deficits within our business and or government, we can take the pie and we can chop it up. Let's just keep in the government theme, simple, education, health, and general consolidated fund. Now, the idea is when you fund these various parts of the sector, you can move these around. So you start chopping the pie up into different ways. The problem with that is the pie itself hasn't grown. If you want to look at it from a socialist point of view, you could consider this to be a redistribution of wealth. The wealth is still the same pie, where we redistribute the pie just changes around it. If we're in business, it says our turnover is the same, it's just how we move around the expenditure and where we get the revenue from our different clients. If I was being more towards the right-hand spectrum of the political spectrum, I may be saying that this is just taxing the rich to give to the poor. The reality is the pie itself moves around. What we want to see is a bigger pie. Because the idea is when you have deficits, you need to grow. In order to grow, you can't redistribute the pie needs to get larger. So what strategies do we put in place to grow that pie? The redistribution of the pie itself may not necessarily change, but as the pie is larger, you can generate some surpluses, being the difference between the blue and red pies. So the challenge we have both in business and in government is recognising how we can take the blue pie and move that into a red pie over growth. And that's the challenge that I'm sure the current government will be looking at in the next 3 years, and what we as business owners should also be looking at the challenge of how we can grow that pie rather than focusing on the redistribution of the pie as it stands.